Russell Wilson has been traded to the Denver Broncos. Tom Pelissero reports that there is a deal in principle to send 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback Russell Wilson to the Denver Broncos. In exchange for...
All right, back now with you on Total Access with breaking news out of Green Bay. We go straight to Tom Pelissero on the details of what's going on with Devontae Adams, who looks like the Raiders are acquiring him from the Packers. All right.
To the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is RichiRichEh of the MHRT Network. Come on. Is
it me or is that like right out of Mrs. Doubtfire? Hello!
I always think of that or that episode of Seinfeld where they just are always going,
hello! That is still not the best line for Mrs. Doubtfire. It's hello! That's the best line pitch.
A lower version. A lower octave version.
Yeah, well, dude, my voice doesn't go that high. That's the problem. So anyways, guys, this is the Wild Wild West podcast, where we are an AFC West roundtable show here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. If you'd like to go ahead and touch base with either of us on our own channels in our own areas, we have Coach Defense from the Lockdown Defense podcast. Coach covers both the NFL and the NBA, so if you're interested in other sports other than football, given the fact that it is really only an 18-week season plus a few playoffs games, you can check out Coach's channel for some other sports content. And directly diagonal to me, I'm going to screw up the thing, so I'm just going to go both. We have Captain Jack of Captain Jack Rackham. You can find him on YouTube and Twitter. See, Captain's nailed the whole pointing thing. I'm just not going to get it right. And you can follow him on all the social media.
What it's supposed to be, and then go opposite.
Do the opposite. So that's Richie.
Like I said,
yeah.
Look, you're up there, so opposite is here.
Got it. Boom.
Screw it. Yeah. So my camera is also above me, looking down, so it kind of looks funky too. But anyways,
I'll tell you what. Does this make it easy for you? Oh, it won't. There you go. Does that make it easier?
I got it.
Thank you.
I guess when you ever want to address someone, we just got to move them.
I got it.
Yeah.
So
I'll go back to where I was. I don't want to take it away from Coach up there.
Okay, perfect. So we have Alex Givens, who is from Arrowhead Addict, contributor there for quite some time. And ladies and gentlemen, we will move on with the show. Obviously, looking ahead to what we saw last week, I was a little bit surprised that the Chiefs were as dominant as they were in the game against the Jags. I did expect it to be a little bit closer than it really was. And frankly, I expected the Jags to potentially even pull off an upset because I just think that they had so much momentum coming into that game. But the Chiefs showed that they were able to pull ahead and maintain that lead with some key defensive plays, especially near the end of the game. So with that in mind, because this is an AFC West show, and there's only one of us left in the playoffs, Alex.
The one no one wanted left. Yet, here I am.
The smug man is back.
Also, it was a pretty dominant game with Mahomes playing on one leg for
Yeah.
I mean, hey, you can hate him, but that did happen.
Oh, I do. Don't worry. I can hate him.
With a touchdown, baby. Playoff Henny time.
Yeah, Henny.
So, I mean, you kind of capped it off pretty well, Richie. I mean, Jaguars are definitely an ascending team.
They are.
They'll be back in the playoffs, especially with how the rest of the AFC South look. But I mean, I expect them to be pretty aggressive this offseason and be right back there. I mean, Trevor Lawrence is pretty much as advertised. For as well as KC played, I mean, they were right there in it. It was it came down to KC had every opportunity to put it away and still gave them the ball back and chances to tie it up. So, hats off to the Jags. It was a great divisional game.
That game was because your kicker made a tackle. Had your kicker not made a tackle on that Agnew kickoff,
Difference maker. Buckner.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The momentum.
Well, and if Agnew didn't fumble on his own on the
I said that, I understand that. But it came down to, with Butker tackling the guy, it didn't come down to the fumble. If Butker hadn't have done that, that was 6.
Oh yeah.
And
Agnew was definitely we talked about him going into the game. I think he was averaging like 130 return yards a game. So you knew he was going to be a factor, and it was early. It came out early. But KC had two very crucial defensive stops in the third and fourth quarter. Really, had the fumble in the red zone with kind of their backs against the wall, and then Jalen Watson with a pretty incredible one-handed catch, interception down the sideline. And even with that though, and you don't know how much of this was kind of toning back the aggressiveness. I appreciate that. At least someone's being objective around here. But
how can you be objective when you're Smug Daddy Mac?
Hey, you can call it smugness, but the facts remains 5 straight AFC championship games, 5 straight times played at Arrowhead. I don't know how else I'm supposed to act when that's.
Okay. I'm gonna mention that if I'm allowed to take a few minutes away from Mr. Smug. Okay,
I suppose we'll allow it.
I think, and again, because I'm the old guy, get off my lawn here. I think that really the NFL made the point of having the neutral site game before the last game was played. And I firmly believe that they screwed Cincinnati in that deal, because they had those plans even made before the last game where the Chiefs beat the Raiders. We will say that. But I think that the opportunity was really a FU job to Cincinnati. I firmly believe that the championship game this week should have been at the neutral site, no matter who they played. Had it come down to Kansas City versus Buffalo or Kansas City versus Cincinnati, because the Cincinnati-Buffalo game adversely affected both of those teams, and that was a screw job.
Well, based on how the Bengals,
I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, I'm not mad, because I would have been pretty pissed if they did that and then tried to do that, moving forward. Because I kind of like the component of home field advantage, and it plays a factor in playoff games.
Oh my God! The chat is on.
We're going.
What is happening right now?
Woo!
Wow.
But, you know,
Guys,
I think that neutral
keep
side
the
was
chat coming. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
This is
we're cooking.
this really does make for a great show. Appreciate your comments.
And no one's called me a
coming.
smug bastard in the chat yet. So
Not yet. It's
good.
coming.
Yeah,
sure.
it's coming. I know.
Yeah.
Mike Sarah's somewhere around here, just waiting.
Yeah.
I called you Smug Daddy Mac. You know, it wasn't quite Smug Daddy, but Smug Daddy Mac.
That was
you
at
know.
least somewhat respectful. You know, but I know a
That's your rap
different category will come out of you as
From
time
me?
goes on.
Respectful from me?
Smug Daddy
Are
Mac
you
at least sounds
effing
cool.
kidding me?
Oh, man.
Oh my God! I'm going to mute myself again.
Yeah, the neutral side thing, you know, that was, I think, because the Bills were just bitching, but you know, that came back to kind of bite him in the ass. So it is.
Well, I mean, after they got undressed by the Bengals in the divisional game,
bad.
Right.
You know, I mean, bad. But you know that Bengals are a good team, and I predicted they beat the Bills, so we are ready for the rematch here, but still in Arrowhead for the 5th straight time. So just let me bring that full circle, just so you guys know that.
Just let me add some fuel to the fire. They're starting to call the AFC title game the Arrowhead Invitational.
The Clark Hunt Invitational.
The Arrowhead Invitational.
Hunt, yeah.
So I haven't looked this up, Alex. Who would, if the Bengals had beat the Bills the first go round, where would this game be played this upcoming weekend?
I don't think it still would have been between Buffalo or KC for the number 1 seed, but I don't know. I didn't look that deep into it.
Because that I mean, really, at the end of the day, that's really all that matters here, right? In the game that we're looking at this upcoming weekend. So the question ultimately is, if the Bengals had won, would they have overtaken that number 1 seed? And if the answer is no.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it was between Buffalo and KC, and that's why it was the neutral site for only that scenario.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Well. Now I will say this. Now,
No. Had the Bengals won their last 2 games, and the Chiefs had lost the last game, which they didn't, but had all of those scenarios played out where Buffalo had lost another game, and the Bengals had won the 2 games, and Kansas City had lost the game, the Bengals would have been the number 1 seed. That's why that I say that the fact that it should have been a neutral site game, no matter had it been Kansas City, Buffalo, or Cincinnati.
But
I mean, it only goes
they
between
made that decision prior to the last game. That's why I'm saying if they made the decision prior to the last game,
that's fair.
That was the plan.
Fair. Yeah.
That's why Cincinnati got screwed.
That's fair. And then the other thing in that particular scenario, because they did make it so early, and Ms. Givens, you are correct. That is not the question I asked. However, I do appreciate the additional information because it's also not wrong either. Because I do happen to agree with that as a general take. Is if you're going to call it way early before you're kind of at a point where it's kind of that, you know, there's a potential fork in the road only between 2 teams, then I tend to agree with that as a general outcome, which is if KC could have not been a number 1 seed at that moment when they called it, and it was a 3-team toss-up, then you really ought to have simply said neutral site if either of those 3 teams end up playing one another. And that is a fair outcome because KC then had less pressure going into the final game or in the final stretch of those last 2 games as a result of that call being made as early as it was.
They still didn't lose the game, so I mean, it's not like they
through
the last game.
No, but imagine. So here, imagine this. Imagine KC going in to play the Raiders, knowing that if they lose that game, they are out of the number 1 seed. I'm sorry, but there are rookies and younger players.
I'm pretty sure they already went into that though, because if they did lose, Buffalo would have had it.
But
Okay,
with all due
but
respect,
the point was is that what the NFL said was that number one seed had the choice of either the home field or the week off. Kansas City took the week off, which put the home or the neutral site game into play. Get everything correct. Kansas City elected to have the week off because they were the number one seed. And then when it came down to the second team, okay, then it should have been neutral site no matter who.
No, I do agree, and I also agree with DZ here. And yes, I am the Canadian, and therefore the Queen's English is going to rule. I completely agree with that, which is I did
King's English now. King's English.
I'm still just a tremendous fan of Queen Elizabeth, so I'm gonna show my respect to Queen Elizabeth ultimately just because of that fact. But looking at that comment, DZ, I could not agree more. I truly personally was in the camp of believing that KC was in a pivot year this year because they knew they had to change their style of play, and as a result of that change and pivot, Andy Reid has never traditionally been a huge running first type offensive guy. That's just not been his MO. He's always been an air it out type dude. Even in the years where he had a good running game in Philly, he was still a pass first or preferred to pass first in his offense. And I have to give credit where credit's due for what Casey has been able to do this year. I think part of it is they lucked out with Pacheco. I think that you can call it luck or you can call it just good drafting, but whichever way you want to do it, they got a great running back in Pacheco who is certainly, able to play well outside of his skis, if you will. He's not, he's well in front and he's in control.
He's fast, man.
Yeah.
And he just runs hard. But
he's got that blend of size, speed, strength that, it's just everything has come together. And I think that's a bit of an X factor for KC's success this year as well.
I'm just going to back up for a second because I did see someone, Matt, try to say that Pat Mahomes is a system QB. And I figured that would probably come with kind of the national tone of this Burrow is better than Mahomes, narrative that's pumping. But I don't know how you could say that someone like Patrick Mahomes is a system QB when you just watch his highlights and how he plays, because nothing he does is by design. All of his, converting third downs are from scrambling around and, throwing off one foot perfectly to where only his receiver can get it. That's not
the two words off platform.
Yeah, that's not a product of the system, though. That's someone who is a gamer. You look at other system type QBs. That's not how they're playing. So I want to kind of pump the brakes on that.
Well, let me piggyback on that because I'm a person that respects Patrick Mahomes' skill as well, and I believe that the word that you want to use is improvisation.
Yes.
Improvisational skills, and improvisational skills as a quarterback translates anybody's system, anybody's offense, whatever no matter what team 1 through 32 you play. If your improvisational skills are good, you're going to be a successful quarterback, regardless of who's coaching you and who's calling plays. So that's one thing that you can say, that he definitely is a good quarterback, regardless of his ability to be successful in Andy Reid's system. Now, Andy's system definitely helps. That's not a. I'll be
the first one to say that Mahomes gets drafted to somewhere else. You don't know if he turns out. The initial start of your career is so huge to how the longevity of your success. Because you go somewhere and have one bad year. Zach Wilson supposedly has the same traits, right? Throwing the ball. Maybe if he goes to San Francisco or some team that's got a better supporting unit, maybe he's just as successful. You don't know that, but that is, that trait is what makes the player, or especially a quarterback, special, because you can go anywhere and play. It's going to be hard to defend someone when they can't get tackled and to cover their receivers for more than 3 seconds. that is like why Kelsey's always open, because I mean it's hard to take down Mahomes. He played the second half with a high ankle sprain and still didn't get sacked. I mean, he got hit and hurt his ankle.
In fairness, that is a lot on the offensive line actually recognizing that they screwed up and fixed themselves.
Well,
so
I think when you watch it,
be honest about that too, right?
Your
offensive line was playing really badly, and then in the first little bit there where they were getting beat a lot, and then they ended up getting their quarterback hurt because of their poor play. Again, calling a duck, right? Call it exactly as it is.
I mean, I don't know. The way he got hurt, it was kind of like, I mean, he got hit after he threw it, and the guy kind of, hip dropped on his lower half.
Sure, but the only reason why he got hit was because the offensive lineman allowed the guy to get past him and didn't block him the right way, or maybe missed the first step properly. I'd have to go back and truly analyze the tape, but generally speaking, it's normally one or two or three things. Wrong guesses only. The king. I just thought that fit in really well with this previous comment.
Right.
But with regards,
Mark Davis, Derek Carr,
giving him haircut advice. Mark Davis giving him haircut advice.
Yeah. I think that'd be fair. Tell him to change the bowl. Just to a little bit of a deeper one or something.
Yeah,
right?
deeper bowl. Salad bowl, not cereal bowl.
Yeah.
These days at AARP.
This is Medicaid. Early enrollment period.
He's ordering his he's ordering his Uber for later. Yeah. His Metro Access bus. His Metro Access bus for tomorrow morning. That's what it is.
Yep. Ed, to answer your comment though, I
broke this because I'm interested in what the hell you were saying, Coach. I know that you guys are saying like, who the hell am I on the phone with? Wrong guesses only. But this is actually, it is important, which is the only reason why I'm on the phone. And remember what I said before in pregame. I'm going to be
I do recall that. Yeah.
That was Captain Jack's best half bacon impression. Fantastic movie for those who haven't seen it. It really is great.
Definitely worth watching.
Classic Dave.
Classic Dave, definitely.
Yeah.
Early Dave.
Yeah, exactly. But I have to agree with you, Alex, is that Mahomes is not a system quarterback. I do think that Mahomes, as he ages, though, is going to have a bit of a conundrum, probably in a couple years' time. Not right away, but in a couple years' time, and I'll explain why. And I think that you'll start to have some kind of coming down to earth moments as a result, which is Mahomes right now is looking to make the special play. He's only able to pull off the special play because he still has the athleticism to escape in the pocket and make that throw properly when he is able to escape the pressure, the this, the that, and the other. At some point in the near future, he will start to slow down because your body can only take so many hits and can only take the type of abuse that the NFL has to offer for so long. I don't care who you are.
No, I mean, absolutely. That's going to come with time.
Yeah.
I think you'll see him, I mean, ideally make a similar sort of transition to what Aaron Rodgers did later. Aaron Rodgers was very similar early in his career. And
I agree.
Improvisational and running around and making looking for the home run play. But as time went on, I mean, he's still playing. He's just won the MVP last year, but he doesn't do that as much, So he developed into a more pocket presence and getting the ball.
Sure.
Same with Brady. I mean, that's why Brady's playing. Brady doesn't hold the ball for longer than 1.5 seconds. So
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Ridiculous.
And Burrow's very similar. I mean, Burrow gets the ball out insanely fast too. But I mean, I agree that at some point Mahomes is not going to be able to do, half of what he does now. Ideally, that's 10 years from now. but it could happen sooner rather than later. But he does still have crazy arm strength, and he has. I mean, he can throw on all platforms. You can still do that in the pocket. So
You can.
It's hard to say that he'll. I mean, everyone falls off at some point. Everyone declines at some point. But I mean, just with the traits he has now, coupled with how he plays now, I see it. It's hard to see that he's not going to be able to sustain the success he has, stats wise, and hopefully, team wise for the foreseeable future.
My only comment wasn't necessarily it wasn't that I didn't think he couldn't sustain success. It was whether or not he was going to be self-aware enough, like Aaron Rodgers was, to adapt in real time as he was responding to what he knew his body could and could not do. So
absolutely,
and I hope that made sense to everyone listening and watching us now in terms of the type of comment, because I think that is what really separated Aaron Rodgers from so many other quarterbacks, which is he seems to be remarkably self-aware. And is willing
maybe
to
too self-aware.
Pardon me?
Maybe too self-aware.
No, I know, and that might be true as well, right? But I also think that he's remarkably self-aware, and as a result, he's willing to basically criticize himself to such a high degree to say, "Dude, you just can't do that crap anymore."
Yeah.
And so many people in that position, I'm thinking like a guy like Michael Vick. And other quarterbacks that were of that type of a caliber that were super special for a super long time, but
Michael Vick had like a nice 7-year break,
right?
Whatever it was,
right. But
Michael Vick was my favorite athlete, of like.
Yeah, he had a lot of time to self-reflect.
Lamar, right? Like Lamar
right.
Jackson. I mean, you're already seeing it, like with that, to get off of the Chiefs here for a second, but I mean, the Ravens don't want to pay him, like, for that very reason, because his play style is reckless, and he's not as known for being able to throw like your Mahomes and Josh Allen's, which why those guys got paid. But I mean, I do agree that at some point he's not going to be able to sustain the play style he has right now. And I think you've seen them kind of try to mold their lineup to that to some degree going into this year, like getting rid of Tyreek Hill, adding 3-4 other receivers, and kind of opening it up, because now it's like, Kelsey's getting 17 to 20 targets, but you don't know where the rest of them are going. One game it'll be Juju, another game he'll have 30 completions to 7 different guys. And I think you're going to see them try to do that.
Oh, that is great. I'm not going to lie. 1, I agree. And 2, I agree. But that may have just made my night. Thank you, Ed. I appreciate it.
But I mean, either way, Mahomes is the best QB in the NFL right now.
Cracking!
Let's hear it. Who's better?
So Alex, I guess to answer that question, right now I would certainly argue that Burrow is definitely rising up that ladder rather quickly.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. But in terms of QB to QB comparison and play style and stats they produce, you can't say that he's better than Mahomes. His teams are better. But it's, I mean, everyone's talking about this whole week, but it's like crazy how they just compare QB to QB, and if they win, then they're better. It's like everyone's saying if they win, then there's no way that you can say Pat Mahomes. What high horse, Ed? I mean, what high horse, huh? Tell me.
The smug high horse.
How
and
about
when you're done,
smug if you win the AFC West 7 years in a row? Go to the AFC Championship game 5 years in a row. Go to the Super Bowl twice, win one. How is that smug?
You piece of crap.
How is that smug?
I have a prize for the viewership here.
What?
See? shut the F up now, didn't you? There you go. Okay.
What is happening?
When you're finished, sir, when you're finished, I will put out a contest for the people here.
I'm finished.
You're finished. Okay, good. Okay. For those that were, and again, this is called cross-pollination, promotion. For those that were asking, I was on the phone with Sneaky G-Man, who is a member of the network that I'm on. Sneaky G is a fan of a certain team. So he said that he would give a $25 gift certificate if you can answer the question. And I actually made up the question. He said, "Oh, dude, that's awesome. If you could figure out who Sneaky G-Man's favorite team is, there is a quarterback that used to play for Sneaky G's team that has lost 3 Super Bowls. If you can figure that out, you will get a $25 gift certificate to Dress Snazzy or Dress Fancy or Snazzy Jesse, whatever, a sponsor for him. If you put it here in the comments, I will get you towards it. And the panel here is not allowed to be in part of it, which means
come on.
Which means I just answered it.
You can't be in it. Go ahead, and you guys can figure it out while we can go through comments. But there's something to liven up the audience.
The Raiders, Zach, get it?
Zach did not get it.
Huh?
Go ahead, folks.
Dang.
I actually had a different team and a different quarterback.
Lost 3 Super Bowls, eh?
Yes.
That lost 3 Super Bowls, that played for Sneaky G's favorite team.
Mom, get it?
Mom, you're not wrong. Or sorry, you're wrong.
Oh, okay.
No, it wasn't John Elway. I have a funny feeling it's a different quarterback who is still active, is my guess, and that's all I'm saying. No? Okay. I'm wrong.
Nope,
right.
You're wrong.
Okay.
Go ahead. And Doc, I'm okay.
I don't know that. I believe he's a Giants fan. Because I actually know Sneaky G. So I'm pretty sure he's a Giants fan if my memory serves correct. And I'm trying to think who the heck it is.
Bomb, you got it right.
Oh, wow.
Didn't that dude play for like every team?
No, he only played for 2.
Minnesota.
Mom, you got that right. Mom, have Alex give me your information.
Whoa.
And it's for your mom.
Yeah, I know.
It's not for you, smug Mac Daddy Mac. Okay. And mom,
it's for Mommy
this
Smug.
is either for you or your
Mommy
husband.
Smug.
If I
Daddy
hear
Smug.
that smug a-hole gets the prize, I will be very upset at you. I'm counting on you,
listened
Mom.
to your stipulations.
Well, I mean that really ultimately means that the gift card needs to be titled to Mr. and Mrs. Daddy Smug.
There you go.
Yep.
I mean, that's really the only way that works.
Yeah,
right?
anyway. But Mom, great. There you go. Mom knew that Fran Tarkin played for both the Giants as well as the Vikings, but he lost all 3 of his.
Ray,
Super
that was
Bowls.
actually my guess. That was my guess, Ray, because I know Tom's lost 3 Super Bowls with the same team. But the problem is that no, but that's the thing is that I also knew in the back of my mind that Sneaky G was a Giants fan, so I was like, well, that doesn't work. Although it did then bring me immediately mentally to the fact that Eli Manning did beat Tom Brady twice, which is great. So that was fantastic to think of. Just on a side note, before we move on to the upcoming game, as that kind of segment of our show here, guys. There's two teams here at least that are for sure in the search and hunt.
I could say something to
coaching.
that, but I'm not going to.
No, I'm all ears.
Well, I mean, when was that third one won? Because I want to say I was not alive.
Yeah, well, I also, we don't put 50 years in between each time we win a Super Bowl, too.
Well, I mean, you haven't won one to
again, we don't
stop the
put
drought.
50 years, a half a century in between Super Bowl wins.
Well, I mean, my feelings are not hurt.
So as I was saying, there's two teams that are in the process of going through pretty significant coaching searches. Coach, I'm going to throw over to you to discuss the Chargers and the news, rumors, etc., as it pertains to your offensive coordinator search. Now, I do know amongst many Chargers fans, there was certainly much rejoicing when Lombardi was shown the door.
It was.
I mean, I again, for those of you who don't realize, that was yet another movie reference. That was a Monty Python movie reference, and that is just, if you haven't seen that, you really need to. Any one of those movies will do. But anyways, Coach, over to you and your offensive coordinator search. Who's looking to be kind of atop the pack, and moreover than that, because sometimes they are different. Who do you think you and your fan base, and again, they might be different as well, are looking for and hoping for as your offensive coordinator?
Well, to be frankly honest with you, I'm not excited about any of the candidates at the moment. I'm intrigued by the two interviews that we've had with the Rams staff. Zach Robinson in particular. I'm intrigued by him. I mean, he's a McVay disciple. But I guess my overall issue with the coordinator position and the interviews we've had so far is that, there is an unproven entity. It's an unproven situation that you're honestly putting yourself into, because none of these guys have been, have highly touted experience of calling plays on their own. They haven't been the exclusive play caller for any of the teams that they coach on currently. So that was my main concern. Also, other concern with them interviewing Joe Brady and people starting to get that train rolling. I'm not a Joe Brady fan at all. I don't think he's had any success in the league. I think he's more of a college guy versus a league guy. So I'm not really high on that either.
I agree.
So I would say if I had to choose out of the many, I think Zach Robinson is my choice at the moment. But again, we still haven't narrowed down any finalists or anything of that nature. I think we still actually in the first interview phase, and a lot of teams are starting to schedule second interviews, so we'll see how those rounds go. But yeah, I mean, it's really a coin flip, right? You can just say, is Zach Robinson or anybody else on the Rams staff or anybody else that we interview, right? Greg Olsen's name came up. I would say that honestly and truly, it's either going to work well or it's not. And this is one of those times in areas that the team is in that we really need to get it right. I think we really need to get it right. I think we have to really be sold on the idea that this guy is going to really elevate our offense and get the best out of Justin Herbert. And if we're not sure of that, we shouldn't hire that guy. And be long and hard in that process to say you really need to nail this one. We can't leave it a chance at this point. So I think that's what they really need to be focused on. Now, do I have really deep confidence in that idea? Because what I feel like has been happening in the last, two or three hiring cycles for our team, head coach and otherwise, is that, Tom Telesco has an idea of who he wants, and the owners and the GMs and the owners in the front office, Spanos group kind of get together and I don't want to say overrule them, but they coerce them to hire who they want. And it's not necessarily been the right move, in my opinion, in certain spaces. So, certain head coaches that they hired, it really wasn't fit for the environment and the team we had. So I'm hoping that changes. It's bottom line is what I'm driving at. I think that's where it lands for me. So, whoever they hire, we got to get it right at this point. That's the bottom line. So if we don't get it right, we can expect the same status quo and the same underachievements that we've been going through for the last several years. No, thanks, Andrew. We don't want Matt Patricia nowhere near this organization. You hear me? Nowhere near. Listen, I will purposely and personally escort him out the building if he is ever near the Chargers facility. He got to go.
I don't think that dude's getting a job anywhere outside of New England.
New England. So. Nobody wants that. Nobody wants that.
Well, and the thing is he somehow magically transferred from defense to offense, which is, I mean,
unheard of.
I don't even know how that happens. I've never even heard that before.
That might work in boys club, maybe high school, but that does not work in the pros.
No. I mean, I will say he was a halfway decent defensive coordinator.
Yeah, I give him that. I mean, you know, when you under Belichick, you kind of have to.
At the same time, you don't know how much of all of it is Belichick. I mean, he definitely strikes me as a guy that just wants someone he knows he can control and say, you know, this is our game plan. Do it.
Right. You see how much of a mess he was in Detroit. Like nothing was right over there.
Even going for the OC search, they got Bill O'Brien, the guy that was already an offensive coordinator for him. So he got someone that still kind of fits that mold that will probably adhere to what he has to say to some degree.
He didn't put the hoodie on. Oh Lord!
I give you permission to use my name. I did not give you permission to use my name. Okay. When Coach Belichick, the greatest coach of all time, is on this show, you have to ask permission to have him on my show. Okay. So you need to ask permission to the great Coach Belichick of New England Belichick.
Coach Belichick. Okay.
Mentioned New England Belichick.
He mentioned.
I thought it was the Belichick.
The New England
I thought it was the Belichick.
It's the New England Belichick.
It is the Belichick.
The New England Belichicks. It's New England Belichicks because it sounds better than the New England Wild Orchids, because that's what Kraft wanted to name him after his little stint down in Stuart, Florida. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, could you imagine if
Boom.
That'd be hilarious.
Right, I know, right?
I just like that you had the hood on standby.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's impressive.
Yes, it is. But so, Coach, you actually brought up a really interesting point there, and that is, as much as Lombardi was not fantastic in certain situations for the Chargers, it is arguably that, or you can soundly argue actually, that the offensive side of your team has been the most successful part of your team in the last few years, specifically surrounding points per game and just overall wins. Generally speaking, your offense has actually been somewhat successful. So do you think that this might come down to a money thing for your team where, like, no offense, but your coach right now, your head coach, is getting paid $1 million a year, which is severely underpaid compared to other coaches throughout the NFL?
Which I'm glad you brought that up, because I want to make that point real quick. I think that might be the difference between us getting Brian Daboll and Brandon Staley, but carry on.
But this is exactly where I'm going with this.
I'm serious. I think it was a money issue. I think because they interviewed Daboll first. He said what he wanted in salary. They interviewed Staley. They were
said, I'll take whatever.
Air quote, we're impressed with both of them, right? And who had the cheaper price tag? Like if you buy, 2 pots from two different stores, you price them, and they both got to give you the same thing essentially, and one's cheaper. You're going to go with the cheaper one, in their eyes.
Right. And so that's kind of where I'm going with this, which is, okay, so are you guys looking at new guys coming into the role, just like Staley was a new head coach? I mean, so was Daboll in all fairness, but nonetheless, are you guys looking in that direction?
Daboll was a first-time head coach, but he had been in the league as a coordinator or a coach, an assistant for a long time.
Oh, no. I'm not belittling Daboll at all.
I think to get an OC, you'd kind of have to have someone move up in rank, so to speak, because I mean, I don't feel like you don't see too many lateral coordinator moves, unless it's like just a real crappy situation.
Right.
So I mean, you kind of have to just decide what coaching tree you want to pluck from, whether it be a Shanahan or McVay or. Yeah. Really, I guess that's kind of the only ones that aren't dried up.
Shanahan, McVay, Reed.
I mean, Reed's is kind of dried up outside of like Bieniemy and I guess Nagy. Nagy could be a guy to make a move because he's like the QB coach or passing game coordinator or something like that. But I mean, that's what it. But I don't think they should get Joe Brady either. I thought they were going to try to lure like a Frank Wright or Kirk, someone that just got fired. To kind of like
that was who I would pick out of all of those, but they haven't even interviewed Frank Wright yet, which is insane.
Well, because he's interviewing for a head coach
coaching
job.
job, right?
So I mean,
Right.
I bet you could get him once if he gets passed over on.
Yeah, then we can revisit it. But yeah, I definitely will run Frank Wright over all of those guys, in all honesty. But again, if I had to glean from anybody that's presently available, we had to pick one right now, I would say I would pick from McVay's tree, and I would pick Zach Robinson. That's what I would pick. But yet again,
may I ask? If I've missed it. Apologies for walking on you. Who are the people that have come in that have been interviewed for the Garglers OC position?
Well, I don't know what that team is, so I really can't tell you.
Yeah, the Los Angeles, San Diego, Los Angeles Garglers. From their inception.
Is that a
pickleball
team? The Los Angeles Chargers of San Diego.
Okay, all right. I know who that is. Okay, so the people that interviewed for that job, according to what Alex said, that there's been Zach Robinson, who was a McVay assistant. I believe he's a quarterback coach for them. Another assistant from the Rams interviewed. His name's escaping me at the moment. Joe Brady, and I want to say there's one other candidate, but yet again, like I said, all those names outside of Zach Robinson, I'm really not a fan of. Honestly, but yet again, I'm not sure how Zach Robinson will be, although he is a McVay disciple, how he would be as a overall play caller. Because you got to realize this about this team. Staley is a defensive guy, so he's not going to
be a McVay disciple.
We're true as well, but I mean, it kind of. I don't know. I'm not sure if I would say he groomed Staley, because Staley bounced around 3 or 4 teams and then got a head coaching job. He didn't come in from college to McVay and he was there solely until he got the head coaching job. He's with the Broncos, he's with the Bears, and he was with the Rams for a spell, and then he got
Staley. Staley is, if anything, is a Vic Fangio disciple. If anything, Staley is a Vic Fangio disciple.
Which I wish he could get the Vic Fangio gives, but that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I wish we would get the we get off track. So I would say for sure that if I had to pluck from any of those guys, I would say it'd be a McVay guy, because I think Zach has been with McVay for a while, and he's can he at least absorb half of what McVay is capable of, then I would be okay with that if they can translate into better offense. So I think that's where I would lean at the moment. But I'm hoping, like you said, to Alex's point, that if Frank Reich gets passed over for a head coaching job and he decides to be a coordinator again, I would love for that to be the guy.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You want a QB, a QB-minded guy, I think, at this stage.
Yeah. And that goes back to my other point that said that whatever OC you hire, you honestly and truly have to get it right and let him go and run the offense as the pseudo head coach, because Staley's defensive guy. Yeah, Staley's defensive guy, so he's going to focus on that side of the ball.
And that's why I think like a Frank Wright would be perfect, because he was a head coach, right? So he kind of have like a 1A, 1B head coach scenario, and probably worked out better for him. But those are such a crapshoot, though, because I think he's interviewed with Carolina, Arizona, and maybe another one. So, but I don't know. There's only 6 openings and 15 names being tossed around.
There's only 6 openings, and there's incredibly strong candidates this year for head coach.
Yeah, there's a lot. A lot. So, and then you got the Colts, who are torn between Bieniemy and Jeff Saturday. So,
right, go figure, right?
Well, that slims the margins even more.
It really does. He's not going back there. So, honestly, true, this might sound like a homer take, but if I had to choose between those 3 teams you just listed and LC for the Chargers, I would take the Chargers OC job versus that mess that they got going on over there in Carolina or Arizona, because it's not a good environment at the moment.
No.
It's not.
No, I agree.
I think the most lucrative, opening would be the Colts, because that's the most.
But he's been there already.
Roster. I know, but that's what I'm saying. But I mean, in terms of just what head coaches spots.
Yeah, I don't think Frank Reich gets an interview for the Colts job. I'm just saying.
No, I don't think. I think that's dead. I think that's done.
No, he might. Who knows? Maybe Irsay's like, I had a change of heart.
Right. Well, he's
not Frank back
just Saturday. I think he needs to be checked with dementia. He might have CTE, and he never played.
Oh, I read a thing last week that said McDaniels backed out of the Colts deal because of his wife, because Irsay came to their house for dinner.
Yes,
was in the bathroom for 45 minutes.
It's been over an hour in the bathroom.
Probably dealing with a blizzard or something in there.
Little,
and I saw that. I didn't read the whole thing, but I saw that listing, and I'm like, if the old adage is, happy wife, happy life, then there you go.
Hey, he made the right decision, obviously.
Well, if you got some wide-eyed weirdo in there trying to hire your husband who was in your bathroom for 45 minutes snorting.
God knows what.
Yeah.
He went in looking normal and he came out.
Yeah, he's like, "You guys ready for this roast? These potatoes homemade.
Why are my hands all crusty?
I didn't want salmon."
Oh man, why are all paper towels in the trash?
Yeah. Is that blood coming out of your nose? What's going on?
What is that about? What is that about?
Well, must be dry in here, right?
Yeah.
So
You got any Percocets?
No.
Molly?
Oh man.
So
that guy owns an NFL team.
Exactly.
Yeah. So obviously we have another team, which is the Denver Broncos, that are in the process of obtaining yet another head coach for the Denver Broncos now with the firing of Nathaniel Hackett. I'm just going to quickly go through the candidates that the Broncos have in fact interviewed. We have Dan Quinn, D'Amico Ryan with an S, Raheem Morris, Jim Caldwell, David Shaw, Evero and Jim Harbaugh. Now, Jim Harbaugh has obviously dropped out and committed to go back to Michigan. And today, so similar kind of answer to kind of my question that I posed to you, Coach, which is who seem to be the two or one or two front runners. Certainly, Sean Payton is very high up on that list because the Denver ownership is one of the few owners. They're one of the few owners that can just basically throw money and say we're fine. In terms of the amount of money that's behind the ownership group of the Denver Broncos. So I think that's one thing to consider. However, D'Amico Ryans has emerged as a legitimate favorite within Broncos country over the last 2 to 3 days.
He's going to Houston.
And
who will want to go to Houston?
And
he played there, man.
Like I said, he's got a lot of ties to Houston. I think that he's going to end up going to Houston.
That is a travesty and a mistake. I'm sorry.
I agree, but
so the question is you have a quarterback who has certainly overperformed, but may or may not be a franchise guy truly. You have an owner and a GM that have not done well. And they've really tanked the team and haven't been able to recover. So the question is why would you want to go there if you're not going to be supported? And they keep firing their head coaches. So now Denver's done the same thing, but if you have confidence in yourself and you know that an ownership group is willing to put resources behind you and you can put some things in your contract to basically force their hand from a financial perspective and they'd be fine with it, I would argue that Denver is probably the better landing spot for him, especially given how Denver finished the season after our head coach left. I would
agree with you. I just think the sentimental ties with the franchise that drafted him and like where he played, I think that's going to play. I mean, I don't know him. Obviously, I don't talk to him about the decision he's making.
All that. I don't want to go to that.
But at the same time, I wouldn't want to go to Houston, who just fired two guys after like saying we're in rebuild mode, but you're not the guy for it. And who's to know that they wouldn't do that to him now? And especially being a defensive guy, I would think that with what Denver has on its roster now, that would be where you'd want to go because he'd be inheriting a unit that's better, arguably, stat wise than what he has now. And I think too for Denver, I would want a D'Amico Ryans over Sean Payton because you don't have to give anything up. It would cost you less. You don't have to pay him $10 million a year and give up the first round pick that you sent Chubb away for to kind of recoup some capital. And so I think, as if I'm the Broncos ownership, that's who I'm trying to get. And if I have to pay him a little more than maybe his experience warrants, I would do that. But I just think he's going to go to Houston because
oh my God, please don't do that. Let me go on the phone.
That's just my feeling. I I think it's all speculation at this point. But
listen, the Houston Texans get whatever they deserve as far as is negativity for that, for how they treated players and coaches at this point. And nobody should want to coach there. If I have a skill set that's high demand, that's the last place I go.
So
let's get Derek Carr, huh?
So I don't disagree necessarily with Edward here. The problem ultimately is the Denver Broncos are in one epic conundrum, and that is, in order to obtain Sean Payton, we would have to give up the first-round draft pick that we got for Bradley Chubb. And we would likely also need to give up somewhere in the vicinity of a fourth as additional compensation to equal that high first-round draft pick from a points perspective. And that would be a minimum. And
yeah,
I don't believe that the Denver Broncos can afford to do that. You need a franchise right tackle. You need, arguably, in my mind, you also need a left tackle to replace Garrett Bowles because he's aging and is starting to get a little bit more hurt, and he's starting to lose a bit of a step and has regressed when it comes to holding and penalties. We also need an offensive center on the offensive line. And
sound like you need a whole line.
well, and our left guard is in a contract year.
Oh, Reisner.
Yeah.
I
mean, he's had some good years and he's had some good things, but he certainly didn't play particularly well this year compared to what he's done in years past. And so the question is he a guy you even want to retain? So now you have left tackle who you're probably going to just stick with, but you probably ought to replace. You have left guard who may or may not be there. You need an offensive center because that dude was hot garbage. And then you need a right tackle.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's huge.
That's a lot.
That's
huge.
Even with mobile quarterback, that's a lot.
That's huge.
Actually, a mobile quarterback don't want to be mobile.
Well, yeah. Yeah, he's a mobile quarterback that wants to actually be static in the pocket.
There you go.
Yeah. And so you need to get an offensive line. And sure, all these Broncos fans out there, they're saying, well, we got these owners with these deep pockets and blah, blah, blah. Okay, stop it. The entire purpose of the NFL is to basically say you can have a ridiculously rich owner. The only thing that helps with is the way that the contracts are initially structured, where they can front load because they have so much money they don't know what to do with, and they get to have fun playing with the football team. So the only thing that allows, and I'm not going to try and slander your owner, Mark Davis, but it has been a recurring theme throughout kind of media and whatnot, is that Mark Davis is wealthy. He's just nowhere near
acting owner.
What?
The acting owner.
Sorry. He's the acting owner, and his mom is the actual owner. So I do understand that the dynamics there.
I just wanted to be stated.
Yeah.
It's true.
But nonetheless, the Raiders and the Davis family, relative to other families and teams that are in the NFL, do not have the same depth of pockets. And as a result, some of the contracts cannot be front loaded at the same scale of some of the other owners. However, the problem ultimately there is that you're still in a salary cap league. And so what a lot of fans are not understanding is, yes, you can front load the contracts, totally possible, but you still have to amortize that over the duration of the contract as a result of the salary cap. So it doesn't matter how deep those owners' pockets are. You still need to factor that in over the duration of the contract length. And all you can do is sign more players and amortize out over longer periods of time. And then the owner is then willing to absorb the dead cap if they end up cutting a guy. But you still end up paying for it in the long run, and it still ends up counting against your cap. So you still need to be mindful and fit within that envelope.
To be honest with you, Richie, that the coaches' contracts don't count against the cap.
I'm not talking about coaches. I'm talking about players.
Oh, you're talking about the players. Okay.
So my point at the beginning of all that was a lot of Denver fans are getting lost in the dollar signs of the fact that our ownership has so much money at their disposal that they're saying, well, just throw money at it and you can buy players. Well, it's like, yes, you can fix the O-line.
The players. That's what got lost.
Yeah. Like you can fix. Yeah, sure. You have an owner that can offer a bunch of guaranteed money up front.
Oh yeah. That's crazy talk because like you said, it's a salary cap. You know, and you have to fit everything underneath
but
that.
it's still stupid. It's still stupid.
Offering Sean Payton $25 million is that's off the books of the salary cap. But yeah, you still got to fit all your 53 guys underneath your salary cap and whatever the cap number is per year. So yeah, that's crazy talk.
Yeah. So that's kind of what my point of that particular rant was, is that, like, don't get me wrong, our owner is stupid rich.
Is that true?
Oh boy, here we go. Oh man.
Hefe!
Nobody blocked the account.
That's so funny.
That's funny. But I like A's comment about Sean Payton though. I got a feeling that people are going to, because of the price tag is so high, and that's why people were saying, you know, asking me a billion questions about Sean Payton when the season ended for the Chargers. That's like he costs too much for the Chargers to ever consider it. And now the Broncos are saying the same thing, and they had way more, you know, leeway and capital and money in their piggy bank to get him than we do, and they're balking at him. So I got a feeling that he's going to sit another year, and they're going to get him on the free agent market after his contract expires next year. That's what I think. That's what
Who's they?
Oh well, anybody that was going to go after Sean Payton. You know, right now, I think he's going to get signed this year as a head coach. I think he didn't wait a year.
I agree. I'll be back in just 1 second.
All right. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't think that, honestly and truly, I think that, you know, people are, unless you're truly desperate, and Sean is not the type of person that's going to want to go to a team that's really dysfunctional. Like, I don't think Arizona's in play. I don't think Carolina's in play.
I think it's Denver or nothing.
Maybe the Colts, but again, would you want to deal with Irsay?
He interviewed, or I think didn't he interview with Carolina too?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
but I mean,
I don't. That's not a place I want. No quarterback.
Like why? Because what does he make doing what he does with Fox Sports right now? Like probably. Yeah, so I think, like, why would he leave that to go?
Listen, anytime that you move from the South to LA, you're making a lot of money because LA is not cheap to live. So yeah, you're definitely making a lot of money just by commentating.
I mean, I just think that's I just think that's too much to give up for a coach.
I agree. I totally agree.
And then if it doesn't work out and you signed him to 5 years, $100 million, you got to pay him all that.
I need to be guaranteed the Super Bowl if I'm going to get up that kind of money in that capital. If I'm going to give up the capital, and there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. So I'm not giving up that type of money. And
as long as KC's in the division, you know. So
here we go. We're back to the Super again.
Hey, I mean, they do play Sunday, so you can flip me off all you want, Cap, but just saying.
All right, so yeah, we're getting. So Richie, you want to jump onto the 3-point stance? And
I'm gonna go over the 3-point stance. Just on the Sean Payton thing, is that I actually think that the money isn't necessarily the biggest issue for the Broncos. Kind of what I said before. I actually think that I think that the Broncos would be willing to probably meet a similar compensation to that to kind of match it, because I think they would value that. The other thing that the Broncos would get out of that is I also think that they are a bit concerned with some of the contracts that our general manager has signed in the last little bit. And Payton, with his experience and things like that, would certainly be a good fill-in if he was trying to work his way into a bit of a Belichick style role where he was kind of both GM and head coach. And I do believe that Payton would actually have the experience to do something like that. So I think that that's not necessarily the problem when it comes to from a financial standpoint. I do think that it comes down to what capital do you need to give up to the Saints?
Oh yeah, that's of course. Like if y'all just had to pay $25 million, he'd still be on the board. But if y'all had to give up a first and a fourth and $25 million, that's why I'd jump off the ship. Honestly,
right, and because then you're hindering your team's long-term success.
Right.
And then in addition to that, you're then basically telling Payton, it's like, we value you so much, but guess what? You're going to suck for the first 2 years.
Right. And there's another little nugget that people aren't focusing on, is that Payton wants have decision power in personnel. So if the ownership group is not willing to do that, then that's a no-go as well.
Right, exactly. So guys,
Payton is looking for a Gruden. He's looking for a Gruden 2 contract.
Correct.
A bunch of money. I think that's about what Gruden had. 5-100, and I make all the decisions.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And you have to imagine that Gruden and Payton have probably talked, because they work within and they roll within probably similar circles. They've likely known each other for a number of years, just given the fact that they've been around the league as long as they have. And you'd be silly to think that the two of them have not had lengthy conversations about what his contract looked like, et cetera, et cetera. So I truly don't believe that the 5 for 100 is out of the realm for someone of Peyton's caliber. I truly believe that the sticking point is the capital that the Saints are demanding in return for Peyton.
There you go.
And
frankly,
frankly, I think that the Saints would be absolutely idiots for not dropping the capital demand, because at the end of this year they get nothing.
They lose. Yep.
So if a team comes to you and says, "Hey, I'll give you a first rounder for Peyton's services," and no one else is there offering you anything, you'd have to be an idiot to not accept the first round draft pick. And that's really all I have to say about that from a Saints perspective. To heck with the precedent. We're in a different league and a different time now. You take the capital and you move on from the coach that doesn't want to coach for you anymore. So,
and that's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, on to the next week. And so as we move on to quite literally the next week, we are moving on to Bengals and KC in honestly what is really looking to be one heck of a great game. And with that in mind, we are going to bring in friend of the show, Houday Baby, from the Bengals to give us information as to what the Bengals need to do to beat, and hopefully will do, the Kansas City Chiefs this coming weekend.
All right, I knew Burrowhead was going to lose at least once, but
come on, that was fantastic. Again, I want to thank Houday Baby for coming on. Otherwise, I think he says first name Sean. So I really do appreciate him coming in and giving us his. And that hat is spectacular. Let's just
Doug Dimmadome.
Oh yeah, that's spectacular. And for those of you who don't know, he also has two outfits that he wears. The one is he does have the white Bengal that he's done with the exact same look, and then he's also got the standard normal orange and black as well. It really is a spectacular get up that he has, and that the hat is just perfect. So Alex, lots to delve into there. Including the renaming of your stadium, which I personally appreciated. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I bet.
But, yeah.
Do you?
Yeah. So moving on from the naming rights being hijacked by the Bengals, what do you think of his points, and what are your counters?
No, I mean, I agree with both teams. Obviously, are great overall teams. Rematch of the same AFC Championship game from last year. Both high-powered offenses. I think both right at 1 and 2 in terms of points and yards per game. Bengals have a pretty solid defense that's come through in pretty clutch moments for them in the playoffs. I would say have, a better defense on paper in terms of performance up to this point than KC does. But you go back and I guess the point I'm getting to is these are both, well developed teams that are having sustained success. And you go look at the last four matchups, or last three, it's come down to 3 points. It's come down to who's had the ball last. You've seen pretty clean football across the board from both sides, and not a whole lot of pressure in terms of defense. And I think either way, I mean, whoever has the most pressure is as cliche, I guess, go in hand with his Madden comment. You got to score more points than the Chiefs. But I mean, the biggest deciding factor in this game is going to be who gets to whoever's quarterback more. I mean, Joe Burrow, I said it earlier, he gets the ball out insanely fast. He has, 2,000-yard receivers, two number one receivers on his team. He has a plethora of weapons. I mean, Jamar Chase is an alien. T. Higgins is pretty much an alien too. And I mean, Hayden Hurst is not, he's a respectable tight end. And Joe Mixon is one of the better running backs in the league. So, I mean, he has weapons around him. He gets the ball to him quick and he distributes it, everywhere. So, I mean, the biggest factor from KC's perspective is going to be Chris Jones. He's going to have to get in the backfield. Looking back at the AFC game last year, I think that the Chiefs win that game if Chris Jones missed a sack and they converted a pretty huge third down. It was like 3rd and 15, and then went on to tie it up to overtime and then go into overtime and lose by the field goal. And they only had one sack in the game in this regular season, and that was Karlaftis. So Chris Jones is going to have to, establish his presence almost immediately, and and be in the backfield as much as he can be. And then you're also going to need playoff Frank to show up like he did last week with a sack and pretty much contain the edge all game, and had a lot of crucial tackles for loss in pretty pivotal moments of Jacksonville's trying to get back in the game. Since he's going to put up points, Casey's going to put up points. I think every game has been at least someone scored at least 27. So, it's hard to think that it's going to be a low scoring like affair like San Fran and Dallas was last week, something like that. So, points are going to get put on the board. It's going to come down to who's applying the most pressure and can kill some drives when they're kind of sustaining drives a bit. And biggest thing for me for Chiefs, especially looking at how they lost last year, you got to run the ball. Pacheco has to have at least 100 yards. I think he had 66, 14 carries and 66 yards in the regular season matchup. But I wrote a giant article after the loss last year about you go look at the time of possession that the Chiefs had went into halftime with a 10-point lead, and then go look at what they did in the second half. It was a lot of trying to just get quick passes out, weren't completing them, and having, a minute and a half to 2-minute drives and giving Cincy the ball back and letting them stay in the game. You go look at every game, the Chiefs were not trailing any of the matchups going into the fourth quarter. So it's going to come down to the end. And the biggest thing is going to be keeping the Cincy offense off the field and finishing every drive with points, whether that's a field goal, a touchdown. The biggest indicator is going to be if Mahomes is at least 80%. But, all early reports, obviously, they're not going to sit here on Wednesday and say, well, I don't know if he's going to play. He's not looking good. They're not going to say that going into the AFC Championship game. But, he's a full participant today at practice. It was a walkthrough practice. Yeah, but he was out there. He's not wearing a boot. Everything looks good in terms of it's not an overly severe high ankle sprain, still an ankle sprain. Very risky to go out there if not 100%. And if the offensive line's not playing up to par, but for as good as Cincy's defense is, they're not overly known for having a lot of pressure, or getting a whole lot of sacks. They just, they have good secondary with like Bates and some of their other. I'm not going to say Eli Apple because I don't like that dude, but he kind of gets roasted anyways. But they don't get in the bed. They don't get a whole lot of sacks. I mean, Trey Hendrickson's a very good defensive end, but they don't. It doesn't seem like they get big sacks and big moments. It's more of they get some turnover. You look at the Ravens game; they got that turnover when they tried to do the QB sneak, into the end zone, and he just took it and housed it. They're not getting a lot of pressure, but I mean that's gonna. I mean, I agree with what Hude said. If they get more pressure than KC does on Mahomes, it's gonna be tough to see them. See them.
Yeah.
But, as the smug Chiefs fan, I think KC can win this game if they go out and do, keep time of possession, run the ball and feed Pacheco. I mean, he kind of had a little coming out party in the Jags game. He busted off a nice 45-yard run when Henny was out there that got him to a touchdown and in a moment of the game that Jacksonville really needed to capitalize on. So. Also got to kind of see how he referenced it. I mean, they have a very banged up offensive line, and they played good last week, but the Bills don't have a rusher outside of Von Miller, and Von Miller wasn't playing. They got Von Miller for the purpose of having an edge rush or some sort of pass rush presence, and they don't have a Chris Jones, so we got to see kind of how they play, but they're prepped for that. They have a game plan for it. Burrow's not going to be holding on to the ball. You just got to hope that the few times he decides to hold on to it longer, Chris Jones or Karlaftis or Frank Clark's back there to kind of make them pay for that. And I think if that happens in those moments, you see KC win. I don't think it's going to be a big win. I mean, someone's winning by 6 points or less. And yeah. I think that's KC if they can have some long sustained drives that don't end in nothing and keep Cincinnati off the field and when Cincinnati's on the field get in the backfield in crucial moments and kind of kill some of their at least a couple drives. I mean they're going to get points on a lot of their offensive production, but if you stop them at least once and do what you need to do on offense, then hopefully we're going to the Super Bowl.
I mean, I certainly think it's what really makes this game interesting to me in short is you have two teams that both have a truly legitimate shot at winning. And I don't think even as a KC fan, you can deny that. I mean, the Bengals are that good of a team, right? Like they are that good of a team. Yeah.
As much of a smug bastard as I wanted to be, I will be objective. Like they are a good team. They've beat the Chiefs 3 times. Sometimes you can go find reasons. You could do this in any game, but I mean, you can find reasons why KC lost the game. And I think that when they're close, I mean, it can cut both ways. So I'm praying that this is the time.
And I do want to address this comment here. So the problem with this issue is a D-line. In order for a D-line to dominate, you have to typically have a quarterback that is holding onto the ball too long in certain situations, which then enables the D-line to break past the offensive line and get into the backfield and disturb the quarterback. To Alex's point, because he's also not wrong, is Burrow is known. I mean, it's just universal across the league for effectively being a machine, very much like Tom Brady when it comes to reading defenses and getting the ball out. It's like 1.5, 1.4, 1.2.
It's annoying.
It is. It's ridiculous, right?
But it's just like Brady. I mean, it's annoying with Brady because you're like, he's 45. Someone just hit him.
Right. Yeah. So as a result of that, you're simply talking about a quarterback that gets the ball out too quickly, normally or generally speaking, in order to allow a defensive line in order to take over the game. So in order to do that, the Chiefs backfield, so your safeties and your cornerbacks, and also you'll need some linebacker help to really solidify this, is you have to cover really well to force Burrow to wait for the extended play to try to take place, and then the D-line can take over. That's really the only way that's happening. But given the way and given the weapons and given the way the Bengals have played, I just simply don't see that happening.
I mean, it's going to be tough. It's certainly going to be tough, and it's easy for him to get the ball out quick because they got 4 legitimate weapons to have to account for on the defensive side in terms of stopping them. But looking back at the game from last year, right? Like they had one sack. Melvin Ingram was the only guy to record one sack. Former Charger. That guy. But Chris Jones, at least I know, had one in a very crucial one missed sack in a very crucial moment. I think there was two, or maybe one was negated with the penalty. But I mean, obviously that wasn't enough to get it done, right? So, and you look back at the game from this regular season, one sack as well. So I mean, they have to apply more pressure. And that's got to come really from the edge, because if they can contain the edge and they're beating them off the edge, with the speed rush or whatever they got to do, but making Burrow have to push up in the pocket, I mean, that's where Chris Jones eats, right? So if you could get Burrow just a couple of times when they try to take some deep shot to have to step up, that's where you need Chris Jones to capitalize. And
thank you, Captain.
And see you, Cap.
See you, Cap.
But
I turned it off, like I said, no buzzing. Y'all have a great one. And just like I said, take care, everybody, and hopefully I'll be a lot. I will say this: next Monday, I'll be rolling around in my brand new, finally after 9 months, Ram 2500. So I'll be in a better mood next week.
Fantastic.
So flex.
That'll be good.
Subtle flex.
Yeah, 9 months.
Yeah, my Ferrari should be in. So
Right.
Oh,
my Bentley and my Maserati.
Daddy. And make sure you give me your mom's information so I can send her the stuff.
I got you.
All right. Take care, guys.
Take care,
Make
Cap.
sure you include a Ranger sticker.
Yeah, right. But yeah, and then getting back to looking at the last matchup as well. I mean, the Chiefs secondary actually played pretty well. It was the linebackers that were just getting absolutely torched in the middle of the field. So that's going to be the biggest.
That was my point earlier, right? Is in order to force a guy like Burrow to have to hold on to the ball, you need the complete back end outside of the line in order to lock down the play. Otherwise, the D line isn't going to be able to get there. And I mean, Coach can probably really speak to that as saying, yes, that's true, because that's really the way that works, is that if you have a quarterback who is truly a technician like Burrow is, and he is nothing shy of that, it's fact, like he is nothing shy of that, the only way that you can then overcome a guy like that, and if you're looking for similar caliber quarterbacks that got out the ball in times that were similar, you can look to Tom Brady, you can look to Peyton Manning, and then you have Joe Burrow, that seem to all fit within that same general category of quarterbacks that are getting the ball out stupid fast.
Yeah, I mean it's annoying. I know I keep saying it, but like going back and watching like the kind of highlights and film from the last matchup, just like, God, this bastard just won't hold on to it. Just hold it once. But I mean, it's easy to do that when you got Jamar Chase, and then teams got
Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and then Hayden Hurst looked like an all-pro tight end last week. So
right.
Yeah, it's rough.
That
they
have no joking weapons.
They do.
But yeah, I mean, on offense, it's got to be Pacheco's got to have. I mean, he's got to have an amazing game. They have to kind of keep doing what they're doing and running the ball, and keep running it. Like they ran the ball well in the last AFC Championship game, and then just stopped at halftime. I think McKinnon was their leading rusher with like 65 yards, and that was all in the first half. And then they never gave him the ball again. And I don't think you see him do that. You also kind of had a conundrum going into halftime last year where they tried to like get a touchdown right before halftime instead of take the field goal, and then ended up running out of time with like a miscommunication of what play to run. So, they weren't fully executing it, and you can't do that against a team like this that's right up there with you in terms of being able to compete in a track meet. Cincinnati is very capable of going pound for pound with KC and scoring.
I figured you said I was talking. Yeah, Alex, I have a question for you though. But I promise, Coach Kurt, I will ask this. And we talked about this matchup in length on my sports talk show last night. So, do you think, especially if it doesn't go your team's way this particular go round, that Joe Burrow is not only Josh Allen's but Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so because it's not Mahomes going against Burrow, right? Like, I mean, it's Burrow going. Burrow is the kryptonite of KC's defense, I'd say.
Well, yeah,
Like, they seem to shut people down. And I guess because it's weird because like QB is the only position that where you're comparing them, head to head,
and they don't match up against each
other.
Going
into this, like I talked about it earlier, and you've seen it all week, and I've seen. Stuff was like, well, Jake Plummer, was 4-0 or 3-0 against Brady, and no one says he's better than Brady,
right?
And it's like it's a weird sort of thing that we're doing, with terms of comparing quarterbacks, and before the Bills lost, it was Josh Allen is better than Mahomes. I'd rather have Josh Allen. It was Jalen Hurts for a little bit. It's just a weird comparison like that. But I mean, I do say that playing the Bengals, at least up to this point, has seemed to be some sort of kryptonite for the Chiefs as a whole, because they definitely play them differently than they play other teams that are, at that championship caliber. Because I mean, they when you watch them play, like the Bills are, the
Ravens,
or I guess the Browns, like a couple years, like when they get into the playoffs, they play those teams differently than how they would play in the regular season. You don't see them do a bunch of stupid stuff or really make any dumb mistakes trying to run some weird screen or something like that. But then when they get into the Bengals, it's like they try to go for this all or nothing, get big home run plays and get away from running the ball or keeping time of possession. Like when they play the Bills, the game plan is to keep Josh Allen off the field and finish every drive with points. But for whatever reason, they don't do that against Cincinnati. And I don't know if it's like the stigma of they lost to them in the regular season, then went into it, the AFC Championship game, and just wanted to beat the crap out of them, when they were up 10 at halftime, and decided, we're going to just pass all over them in the second half. It didn't work. And then boom, next thing you know, they're right in it. Then sort of similar going into this regular season as well, is kind of a similar matchup. Like they have a game plan that works, and then they get to the late end of the game, and it's like they just want to like aggressively go for the jugular rather than make Cincinnati have to win it. And they fail. So I think if Cincinnati comes out and goes to the Super Bowl for 2 straight years and beats KC in the AFC Championship game for 2 straight years, you have to call them KC's kryptonite. But I don't think it's fair to say that Joe Burrow is Pat Mahomes' kryptonite, because I mean, it's not like Mahomes goes out there and plays like absolute garbage against Cincinnati's defense. He makes Burrow have to make a big time play towards the end of the game. But I mean, I guess that's my honest answer for DZ there.
I'm going to disagree a little bit.
Okay.
And the reason why I disagree is the one thing that separates the quarterback position from other positions on the field is the way that they view the game. Because the quarterbacks have a unique perspective in the fact that their job is to see the field, right? So what separates them apart from, an offensive lineman against a D lineman is that the offensive lineman literally only needs to focus on one small group of the field and say, as long as I kill and nail that one thing, I can be a Pro Bowl or even Hall of Fame level, whether it be offensive lineman or defensive lineman. Similarly, for the linebackers really only need to focus on a few select position groups in a few select scenarios. And as long as they can do that job really, really, really well, they can again be at that same high caliber. The quarterbacks, however, need to assess the entirety of the field. They need to assess movements and changes and ebbs and flows and all that kind of stuff. So they really do have a unique perspective as they watch a game because of their position and because of what they do and how they do it. And one thing that I have heard in multiple interviews from multiple quarterbacks, and not just scrub quarterbacks like Orlovsky, but Sorry, was that too much? But anyways,
no. He's the same dude that said Burrow's the best QB in the league. Mahomes is the best player in the league. It's like, what does that mean?
So the whole point that I'm making here is that so you have these scrub quarterbacks and you have these really, really good quarterbacks, and then you have these absolute elite level, all-time level quarterbacks, and they all say the same thing. And that is when they're playing against another quarterback that they recognize as like game recognizes game, they immediately shift in a mental mindset. Peyton Manning has said that when he's played Tom Brady. Tom Brady has said that when he's mentioned about playing against Peyton Manning. Ben Roethlisberger has said the same thing about Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, and select other Brett Favre, etc. For example, when they played against each other. So again, the whole point here is that these elite and top tier quarterbacks recognize 100% when they are going against another elite and or top level quarterback or someone that can at the very least match them in terms of their skill and what they can do. And so the reason why I'm saying I slightly disagree with that comment is I'm not disagreeing that they don't go head to head. It's not like Patrick Mahomes is on defense when Burrow is on the field to say, dude, I'm coming for you, right? Like that's just not happening. But because the quarterback is so heavily mentally focused, it's all about processing and mental everything. I just believe that that could be seen as a kryptonite component, like Coach Kurt and Coach were talking about.
No, I don't disagree with that. Like, obviously, like you watched. I think it was that Brady with the man in the arena or whatever, but they had Peyton Manning. Like they talk about their matchups, and he's like, I always knew I had to elevate my game. I mean, and obviously, I don't doubt that Mahomes goes out there and hey, I'm playing Burrow. I know this dude's gonna get his stats. He's gonna make plays when he needs to. I got to be on my game here. And maybe that subliminally makes him try to make a different type of throw going for the home run play and makes a mistake. But you go back and look at his stat lines in the 3 games they've played up to this point, he doesn't make mistakes though. It's more of I mean, he's not turning the ball over crazy and losing it and things like that. I mean, he's still going out there and putting up the same stats he puts against everyone else. It just comes down to either the Chiefs being unable to stop him, because I don't think Mahomes has ever had a defense ranked higher than 20th in terms of the points they give up in yards. Or just them not having adequate time of possession and keeping them off the field. But I don't doubt that playing Burrow, affects the way he goes into the game. But I mean, at the same time, the NFL, you would imagine you would hope, I guess, that they approach every game in somewhat the same way to put up the same stats, week in and week out and get.
Well, I think we both know they don't. That's the thing, right? Like that. Otherwise, like let's put it this way. Otherwise, the term trap game wouldn't exist.
Well, yeah, no, that's
right. So I mean, we can just, coming from even just playing competitive sports myself, I can assure you that you do not approach every game the same. There was certain teams that you knew had certain players and or certain schemes or styles or whatever the case may be that were just simply more difficult to play against. And you approach them differently. And then there was other teams in other areas whenever you played that you're like, they're a joke. I don't need to go out and try quite as hard because they're a joke. And the NFL is no different. There's just certain teams and certain matchups that you just like, for example, you look at certain matchups for certain wide receivers against the cornerbacks where they're going to look at that and say,
yeah, but I mean, the playoffs though,
I'm 6'4", he's 5'3". Like, who gives a crap? I'm going to kill him. Right. Like that. That's my point, is that, there's certain teams and certain matchups that they just know that they're going to win or can win. And a lot of times do. Or look at Pacheco against maybe a slower linebacker or a undersized linebacker who he's like, dude, I got that dude all day long. Just give it to me and get me to that next level untouched, and I'll plow that dude over.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that those all come into play. And I think that again, with which coach coming from his background in the defensive side of the ball, I guarantee you there's certain teams from his coaching pedigree of where he looked at the opponents and said, and he went to his players and said, "You've got this," and they said, "You're damn straight I do." Right? Because they knew the caliber of competition that they were going up against.
Yeah, some of the teams that just really overmatched that. You just you more so worry about injuries in that regard.
100%. Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, you're not going into a playoff game.
Not at all. That's a whole different animal. Like, and I think the NFL is a little bit different too, because even the Texans will give you a game right now if you let them. Like they were in games this year. It wasn't a walk off or run off every single game that you played them.
Yeah.
So either seems statistically the worst team still will give you a game if you'll let them. So I think the mindset.
You could lose to anyone in the
in the league, especially in college.
He's lost to the Colts, man. Like pretty decently.
Right. I mean, and the Colts also had the Vikings up 33-0, and they lost that game. So and it's very possible. I think in the lower levels you have more of a disparity in talent.
It's easier when it's Alabama versus
Appalachian State or something like that. Yeah,
they're playing the Citadel,
Michigan Wesleyan, Michigan Wesleyan, somebody like that. Then kind of it's going to be a walk off, but you're going to play your second stringers in the second quarter, kind of thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think this is going to be a super interesting one. I really enjoyed the show, guys. I think we had a great one here. This to me is the game to watch of this weekend, just given the rivalry that's now, been driven between these two teams. I will certainly be watching it. Alex, I know this won't come as a shock to you. I will not be rooting for the Chiefs.
I just need to hear you say it.
I'm just rooting for a good game personally.
The Bengals are going to win.
There we go. Yeah. I needed it. I needed that. Said it every week up to this point. Here we are.
He's been consistent. Gotta give him credit for that. He's been consistent.
Yeah. So I mean, in this is my opinion, this game that I believe that the Bengals will be winning this particular matchup.
We'll see.
And we'll wait and see and go from there. But guys, that's been the Wild Wild West for this Wednesday, February the 25th, 2023. I'll speak eventually.
January.
No, it's not January.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I know. I just
year of our Lord 2023.
I know. I fumbled on my words, and I was trying to recover there. Thanks for pointing that out.
2023 AD.
Thanks. I appreciate it there, buddy. So anyways, this is January the 25th, 2023.
There we go.
My chair just broke again. So I appreciate you all joining us. Until next week, where the West Side is the best side. Peace.